Say, bruh, it's the podcast.
What's up? It's Hot Boy Troy. We got C.U.D.I.E, and this is the Say Bruh Podcast, episode 7.
Yes, sir.
And today we have a special guest. I would say a guest of, let's see, how can I put this? He's just well known around the town.
Yeah. A Fresno staple.
Fresno staple for sure.
Yeah.
And he's just another living legend. We have MIKEOZ.
Yo,
What
thank
up,
you
Mike?
guys. Thanks for having me.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Happy to be on the show.
Yeah, no, when I was talking to Dorian, I said, man, we got to get MIKEOZ on because
This was probably one of the first things that we put down on the list.
yeah, we literally, when we were just throwing out ideas, we was like, who can we have on the podcast? And
We started writing down the
You
list.
guys stopped me that one day.
We did.
I was in the hall.
I think that's when we were just brainstorming.
Yeah, you were like, yeah, we just bought some mics. I've
Yeah,
listened
yeah.
to the show enough to know that you bought mics twice. So I don't know whether this was the first time you bought
This
mics
is the
or the
first
second time. but I remember that.
We did. We stopped Mike. He stopped by the stadium, and we're like, "Yo, man, we're gonna do this podcast. We gotta have you and speak about Fresno, everything, all the good you do out here for the community." And
he was like, sure, just hit me up.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, all
And
right.
and we've been trying to stretch out our guests. Like we have a lot of friends and people that we know that it's a no brainer. But it's like, all right, let's stretch it out so it don't seem like we're just throwing our friends right at start. But like, and being that you have a lot of events coming up, we just let's have them on and speak about it.
And it definitely made sense just to have you on. And this man has his own baseball card.
You do get me on that day. Yeah, that today's the day.
Today was the day like they released his baseball card. Like
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
that's
Wild. It's
Not-
wild.
Not everyone gets a baseball card.
yeah, you got to be in the elite
I
list. to get a
felt good when I helped laid out a baseball card, but this man got actually printed and
like go buy these baseball cards in stores, and your baseball card is
Yeah,
gonna be
well,
there.
hopefully. I mean, so I went and bought a whole box today, and we opened like half of it, and we haven't pulled my card yet. So hopefully you get my card because I haven't gotten my card yet.
or in other words, don't pull your card. on certain things.
There you go. But yeah, so I mean,
That's dope though, man.
it's
How
cool.
did that come about? Like, how did the whole baseball thing? We know that when you do your interviews,
Yeah.
you talk a lot about baseball cards, but for the listeners that don't know,
how the card came about?
yeah,
So yeah, I have the show called Old Baseball Cards on Yahoo Sports, and we've been doing it now for 3 years.
You was the trendsetter.
I was a trendsetter. And so in that time, I've gotten to know the people at Topps a little bit.
yeah,
And so they do the set that I'm in is called Allen and Ginter, and it's one of their like it's like a throwbacky, old timey type thing. If you look at the cards, they look kind of like drawings. They're actually just
Yeah.
pictures they manipulate. But and they always have like just some random people in it. Like there's baseball players, obviously, and then there's probably like 25 to 30 other people.
Okay.
So this year there's Dan Rather, there's Gary V, there's Harrison Ford,
That's dope.
there's like a couple pro skaters that I can't even pretend to tell
might
you
need
I
to
know
find
about.
that Harrison Ford.
Wait,
I'm a
so
big
this
fan.
is a Topps baseball card?
Yeah. Yeah.
Shoot,
And
that's
so,
official.
and me, and I'm in there, and
That's huge.
so
man.
it was crazy. Like I have a friend. Like I collected baseball cards pretty heavy when I was a little like 6, 7, 8. You know, probably till I was like 11 or 12, and then I got to the point where I spent all my money that I would spend on baseball cards. I started spending it on rap CDs. So that was sort of what happened. And that's kind of when I got out of baseball cards, but.
But
I've always been into it, but so I have a buddy though who's like super duper into it. And when I started doing my show, he was like, "Man, if you keep doing this, like you could get a Ginter card." And I'm like, "I mean, no way, And then one day I got the email and it was like Ginter 2019, and I was like, "Man, I can tell you what that's gonna be about." Like I hope, and
That's
it
awesome.
was, and it's taken quite a while. Like it actually started like in October, so it feels like it's been quite a process to actually.
that gotta feel good too. I mean, like from collecting them to being on the card. I mean, shoot, I'm sure that's how I felt when I got to lay out a baseball cap.
Yeah,
I mean, from
right,
collecting
right.
baseball, not collecting baseball hats, but like just being a fan of hats to
Well, but I
laying
think-
one out. I could only imagine.
I think you'll agree on this though, right? Like I don't think it's really hit me yet until I actually get
Hold
one.
it- hold a
until I
physical
actually
one?
have it, like, because I mean, it was cool to get a hat, right? But it was probably better once you put it on your head.
Exactly. From laying it out on Illustrator
Yeah.
to like putting it on, make sure it fit well.
Yeah.
Fit well. I was like,
Yeah. So
yep.
I still don't have one. So the only thing that happened was they sent. So there's a bunch of autographed ones. They made me sign 260 of them.
Okay.
But I didn't get to keep any of them. So they had a guy come to my house, like a certified. Yeah. So he came to my house. He had all these different pens, and it was like, this pen needs to be used to sign this card. 5 of these and 10 of these and whatever. And then they took them all and they left. And I'm like, I don't even get one.
Don't worry, man. We'll find them on eBay.
Well, no, for real, they're on eBay. So, anyways, my homie who's like really into baseball cards, his name is Ben. Shout out Ben. He's been sending me all day. Ben? Like, he's like, oh, this one's on there right now. This one's on there. So he was sending me right before I came in here. He's like, oh, this autograph one is up there for like $45 or whatever. And
we'll have to check.
How much you think yours gonna go for?
I'm gonna price myself out. Like, I want to buy a couple just to give them to my kids. And I'm like, man, they gotta come down in price.
We'll have to reach out to Ali from Card City. he'll make sure to cop
He'll
one.
come up on them.
Yeah, he does.
Sure. But yeah, so like, let's tell a MIKEOZ story.
Yeah.
Where you originally from? Because I did my research, so I kind of know where you're from.
Where am I from then, Troy?
You're from Fremont.
I'm from Fremont, California.
Fremont, California. East Bay, right?
The East Bay.
So. Yes.
And
so if you go talk to Sam Hansen though,
he's gonna say
Sam will tell you that Fremont
it's not the Bay.
First of all, he will say Fremont is not the Bay. Then he will say Fremont is the South Bay, and I'm like, dude,
is it the South Bay?
No, it is not the South Bay. It is the East Bay.
Because it's on the east side, right?
Well, and it's a 510 area code, and before it was 510, it was a 415 area code. When I was like, I remember when I was a kid, they changed the area code from 415 to 510. So South Bay is 408. I'm like, dude, I'm not a 408 area code. I'm not South Bay. Fremont is East Bay. So that is where I'm from. Sam Hansen.
Okay.
He has conceded though that Fremont is in the Bay Area because they have Nations, and he likes Nations from Vallejo. So he actually apologized recently and brought me a pie from Nations. And I and Ray Ortiz.
I think I remember when
he brought
we had a ceremony about this.
He did. He brought an extra one for the office. Too. That was good.
So
good
yeah,
pie.
I'm from Fremont, which is sort of like a bedroom community for real. Like there's not a lot that happens there. It's more of like a place where people in the Bay Area live, and then they drive to where they work. So I was a kid pre-Silicon Valley, so like I remember when all that stuff happened. So then it was like people would drive out to San Jose and Sunnyvale and all those places. And when I was a kid, it was more like the other way, San Francisco, those kind of places. So there wasn't like, a ton of, I don't know, there's not something you're like, oh, this is the thing that happens in Fremont. It's more just like that's where people are from. And yeah, I went to school there, and then I went to San Jose State for college.
Oh,
you knew that? Okay.
Yeah, I do my.
Okay, go ahead.
Tell Troy.
Troy does his
research. Dorian just is like.
No, I just show up and ask the questions.
And I give him some fun facts so he can just run with it. But yeah, so you graduated from San Jose State?
Graduated from San Jose State.
And what was your degree?
Journalism, print journalism.
Okay.
So I wanted to be
So how do you feel about us somewhat doing journalism here? And we have no background.
We are raw. Like this is.
We just learned off YouTube. Hit record and conversate.
Man, I enjoy every storytelling platform there is. So
nice.
I think that I love podcasts like this. This is probably these types of podcasts are some of my favorite to consume. Whether it's people talking about, I love music obviously, so doing the stories of people listen to music. Like It's the Real's one of my favorite podcasts because they do a lot of that.
It's the Real, yeah.
Yeah. But there's sports ones like that, and I just love to hear stories. And I think the foundation of journalism, whether we're talking about like podcasts, written stories in newspaper, video, whatever, it's all about good storytelling.
Yeah.
So if you can tell a good story, if you can captivate an audience, like I don't care whether you went to journalism school.
As long as it entertains.
Yeah, well, as long as you learn something and it's interesting, and it's like anything, man. Like you can write something and it can be great, or you can write something and it can be boring. You could do a podcast and it can be great. You could do a podcast and it can be boring. And if you can do it well, then like it's worth my attention.
There you go.
And at what point you moved out to Fresno? Like what made you move out to Fresno, being from Fremont, going to school in San Jose?
So I originally came out here to intern at the Fresno Bee. So it was after my second year at San Jose State, I was in an internship program for newspapers, and they sent me to the Fresno Bee. So I spent the summer here.
What was your first reaction? Like, man, it's hot.
So I actually told the story the other day because I forgot why, but so my first Fresno reaction was we were coming, and this is before I'm old, man. This is before like you had GPS in your car or anything. So I remember they had set us up in apartments to live, and it was these apartments on Cedar and Herndon, and so I called them like, okay, well, where is it? And they tell you the address. And so back then you'd have to like look it up on your computer and then print it out.
Yeah, the map
and if you
quest.
didn't print it out, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we printed it out. And it was me and my buddy from college, and we're like, all right, we're just gonna go out there and like bring some stuff and check it out. And they're like, it's on Herndon. And I'm like, well, let's get off Herndon. We can't miss it, right? So we get off Herndon in 99, and we're just driving. And I'm like, we're driving for a long time. And I'm like, we must have missed it, man. Like, because, from there to get to, like, Cedar and Herndon is far.
Yeah.
So we turned all the way back around, and then we were like, well, maybe it's the other way on Herndon 99. So we drove the other way, which is a dead end. Man, where is this place? So then we had to, I think at that point I had a cell phone. So we had to call them and be like, where are we? And they're like, no, just keep going. So we drove all the way back down Herndon again. So my first observation of Fresno was that, like, man, I got lost. Now I know, like, once you get here though and you learn the order of the streets, it's not that hard to get around.
Oh no.
That's how it was when I kind of moved there and was like, man, it's freeways to get over here, get there. So I feel the pain on that one.
So then I interned this summer here. I turned 21 in Fresno. I remember that.
How was that?
So I had never drank before I turned 21.
Okay.
And so I had some of my friends came from other places to come to Fresno.
Did you end up at Aldo's?
No, we ended up at cause I remember just asking people to be. I'm like, where should we go? And then someone sent us to what was at the time Club Fred. So that's where we went. And someone was like, here, have this shot of Three Wise Men. And I was just like, dude, what the hell? And
next day you woke up like, yo, what happened?
So when I think of Fresno, I think of one of the story they sent me to do the most. I was a sports writer at that time, and they sent me to write a story about this black cowboy, and he was
like a real black cowboy.
Real black cowboy, and it was like
they've been on. Black cowboy's been
Tonk,
on, bro.
man. Hyphy Tonk.
Hyphy Tonk's been doing a thing, man.
And it was this dude, and he was like, an old black dude, and he was like, I could never be in the rodeo when I was a kid because they just wouldn't allow it.
Shit.
And so he was like in his 60s, he was going to be in the rodeo for the first time. And so I wrote the story about it, and like it was crazy, man. Like it was such a cool thing, and I won an award for it. So I went back to school. Like I left Fresno, and I'm like, well, here's the things about Fresno, right? It's hot. I did this black cowboy story, which was great, and I won like a national award for it. And I liked it here. I didn't have like any bad thing to say about Fresno when I left. And I knew Courtney Alexander. Courtney Alexander was the man on the Fresno State basketball team at the time. And I went back to school, and that was it. And I didn't really suspect I'd find my way back here, but when I graduated, the B was like, hey, do you want to come work here? And I was like, yeah, sure. They're like, only problem is we don't have a sports writing job for you. Like, do you want to cover music? And I was like, huh? And when I had been here as an intern, one of the things someone told me in my little internship training program, they're like, go around different parts of the paper and be like, hey, can I do something in your department just to get experience? So I went to the entertainment department one time, and I was like, hey, Eminem's coming. Can I write a story about Eminem? And they're like, sure, yeah, because we don't know anything about any of that stuff. So I wrote the story about Eminem, and this was...
What was it, like 99?
2000, so the Marshall Mathers had just come out. So it was like peak, like controversial Eminem.
That was the good stuff.
Yeah, so he was coming to the Selland Arena, so I wrote about that. And then they had this was the year they did these raves at the fairgrounds. And they gathered all the interns, like, hey, we want you guys to write about these raves at the fairgrounds. Like, token, like... hey, you kids, go write about this stuff. So I did those two things, and they're like, you should write about entertainment. So they brought me back here. I was literally 22 years old, and I just graduated college. I came here the next week and moved into Fresno. Got lost my first day again, and and I just dove into it, man. And it was like I enjoyed everything that the city offered to me because, like, I had been in college for so long, and when you're doing like journalism in college, like it's not like a normal college experience. Like you're going to school, and then for us, we were a daily newspaper. So we were basically, I was going to class until like 2, and then I'd be at the newspaper from like 2 to midnight, like every day, and then I worked on Friday night, I worked on Saturday, and we were back at the newspaper on Sunday. So
that was a grind.
For like 3 or 4 years, I did that, like 3 years. And then so when I got out here, I was like, I go to work for time, and then I'm just done, and I just go hang out. So like, I'm like, yo, just go places. And I mean, the other thing too was luckily I fell in right away with some really good people. Like 1 week after I moved here is when I met Hectic.
Shout out Hect.
Yeah,
what
shout
up,
out
Hect?
And then the very next day, no. So I met Heck on a Friday because I went to FTK in Visalia because one of the things I had learned about was CentralCali.com just from looking around. So I remember this is like message board era, right? So I went on CentralCali.com and I was just like, yo, I just moved here. I had been doing college radio in San Jose. So like I had been doing hip hop stuff and, Heck was doing KFSR at the time. So he had just invited me out to come to his show. And so then that same day I had scheduled to go meet Sam and Bobby. So I drove down to Visalia, met Sam and Bobby. Heck happened to be there. And he's
Was
like,
this in his Heck Soprano days?
no, not Heck Soprano yet.
Okay.
He did not have the afro still,
Okay.
but he was still basement. Heck Soprano was still a couple years
later.
Yeah. So this is like, this is to date our Fresno-ness. Like Fashion was probably 9 at this point.
Yeah.
Like I remember when Fashion was 15 and Heck first brought him out. So this is a little bit before that. This is pre Kanye, FTK.
This pre homegrown show and all that.
Nah. So he was doing the radio show at that point.
But the homegrown show on B95.
Oh, probably yeah.
That's the first time I heard Heck on a homegrown show, and John Magic was DJing it.
Well, Heck had his radio show on KFSR at the time.
Nice.
So I go down, I meet Sam and Bobby, and then Heck happened to be there, and he's like, why don't you just come down to my show tonight at KFSR? And I was like, sure. I came by, met Joey Beazle for the first time that night.
Joey.
Saw, I think, that wasn't that. I saw Fog for the first time at KFSR. That tripped me out. We don't have Fog in the Bay Area like that.
Yeah.
And then the next day, Sam was like, well, why don't you come out to Visalia? We're doing this this thing with LRG, and they brought all the LRG skaters. And it was just like I was immediately part of the community. And I felt like, looking back at it now, I literally just came back from having dinner with Sam and Heck and all those guys. And
Full
I'm like,
circle.
yeah, I don't know, like, if I wouldn't have met those guys right away, I don't know that I would have sort of fallen in love with this community as much as I did. But it was great to sort of, fall right into that. And I started doing the radio show with Heck. Of course, I became friends with all those dudes.
I think that's like the thing about Fresno always, and we kind of talk about it, how like Fresno just adopts you, or just whatever circle you come into, like you'll just start linking up with hella people, and it just builds your little group, and sometimes it works for its best, and it links you up with, like, friendships that you've had for a long time, like Heck, Sam, and everyone in the circle.
And it's funny to me because I always think about, like, and one of the turning points for me in Fresno was when I realized that so many people didn't like Fresno, and it took me a while to like really like understand that. But I was like, man, if you go out and try, like if you put in a little bit of effort into sort of being a part of the community here, like you can do so much.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because when I told people I was coming to Fresno, at least when I told people I was from New Orleans and I moved to Fresno who are from here, and like, why Fresno? Yeah. The more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And Fresno is such a unique and cool city. I love it. I go around and do events and enjoy.
It's like the platform is there. You need to take advantage of it, and like the events that you do and whatever we do is like, yo, you just gotta make something happen, and it's there. It's not like there's nothing to do in Fresno. You could make things happen. Like I feel like something that always stood out to me is like, what did Mystical say back in the day? Like, I may not be nothing to you, but I'm the shit in the city. Like it always seemed like our whole our city like that is just like, man, if you go out to a bigger city, it's gonna take you forever to make something happen. So where you have this in your backyard, like take advantage of the platforms you have here.
I think there's so much opportunity, like you could, for instance, like you could be Heck and you could go make a Grizzly Fest in LA or San Francisco or whatever, but it's gonna be a lot harder. Yeah. You could be me and Sam and you can make a taco truck throwdown and wherever, but it's gonna be harder. Like in Fresno, you could for us, granted we've been at this a while now, but we just decided one day we're gonna do Fresno Street Eats, and like it took off, dude. You can't do that in a lot of other cities.
Exactly.
And I think anybody, like I said, if you put some effort into it, like if you just try and you kind of like trying to meet some people or whatever, like it as an investment, it's one of those things that pays big dividends as opposed to sitting around and just bad mouthing Fresno.
I feel like Fresno's like one of those cities where like for doers too is like it's a plain canvas. Like, yo, it's there. What do you want to do? Whether it's a taco truck throwdown event, a Grizzly Fest, it's all there because it's not like stuff like that hasn't happened till like now. So it's a blank canvas. Like,
you
choose your poison.
You can even use that like with our situation.
A podcast
like with the podcast. Like we literally.
There's podcasts out there, but it's just like as far as for whatever we're trying to do, like the platform of the podcast that we're trying to create is like it's an open lane, so it's just up for people to do it.
And me being like very very ambitious, I'm like, that's why I told him in the beginning. I said, all right, if we go do it, like I'm going. Yeah. I'm going 100, and at times he's like, dude, like I'm thinking too big, and I'm like, why not? I'm like, we can do it.
But I think that's sort of what sets people apart, you know?
Yeah.
Like I remember, I think it was probably the second or third year we did Taco Truck Throwdown. Sam was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be the garlic fest for Fresno, and I was kind of like, huh? And I thought about it. I'm like, yeah. I mean, we're not there yet.
No, yeah.
But like you gotta have,
it's growing.
You gotta have that thing to work toward, though. You know, like you can't come to it from a standpoint of like, all right, we're gonna do this thing and get 500 people out there. Like, yo, okay, maybe the first year, but what's the goal in 10 years? You know, and like heck was like, we're not gonna do a. I mean, it started out as a small local festival, but it was like, yo, I want to do this type of thing, and I think Fresno, one, you know, it allows you to do that, but two, you know, there is that opportunity.
Yeah, so you can. Whatever you put your mind to, do it, and Fresno is a great place to do it in. And speaking of doing it, man, you just made the Forbes list. like.
I mean, I wish I made the actual Forbes list because you know I'd be in a much better financial situation. But yeah, I was in Forbes. That was pretty cool.
Not everybody can say that. Like, on Forbes, that's a big deal. And I peeped it out a little bit, and then I was just checking all of the people that was like, man, this is a great accomplishment and everything. So congrats on that as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was for the baseball card. They kind of featured the sort of the story of you know that, and then the show and all that. So it's cool, man. Like it's cool. It's also cool for me to see the like, cause I kind of live in these two worlds, right? Like I have, you know, this whole Fresno side of me, and then I have like sort of my job, which you know, like is a completely different thing. There are some intersections in the sense that like, you know, I write about baseball for Yahoo Sports. That's my job. And then, you know, I do like some stuff with the Grizzlies, and that's baseball. And, you know, like a lot of people get confused by like, what do you actually do? And they're like,
he's a hustler. That's what that is.
But they're like, do you cover the Grizzlies for Yahoo Sports? I'm like, no, like I just live here. But yeah, so, you know, like it's interesting. But it's one of those moments where I feel like the world's kind of like cross over a little bit because like one of the things, and this was very important to me, when they do the baseball cards, they do these things called relics, which is where they put like a piece of the jersey or a hat or whatever in the card. You guys have probably
I've seen that. Yeah, we did that for the tacos jersey.
So they're like, you want to do a relic? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, what are you gonna send? And I was like, well, I'm gonna send a Fresno Tacos jersey. So
so you made that happen?
Well, no, on mine.
On yours?
Yeah. So there's the relics they come out today, and so I sent in. Actually, it's funny. I sent in 2 because they lost one of them. So I don't know which one they ended up using because then they found it. So Dorian, you can say you know.
Yeah.
Because it was a.
Oh man, I've been
one of your jerseys.
Nah, man, I've been.
Yeah.
No, I got a couple of cards that Ali from Card City gave me, and it's a taco themed card where they cut up the card and it's on there.
But I felt like that was sort of a cool merging of the two, right? Because it's like it's part of Fresno, but it's also me. And you know, like when I got hired at Yahoo, like I could have moved, like I could have left.
Yeah. When was this?
So I got left. I worked at the Fresno Bee so I moved here in 2002.
Okay. Like
for real. I interned in 2000, came back in 2002, and then I worked at the Bee from 2002 until 2013. Like early 2013, I went to Yahoo, so I've been there for 6 years, a little more than 6 years. But when I moved, like when I moved jobs, like they didn't care where I lived. I could have lived wherever. And so we have offices in Sunnyvale, and we have office in Santa Monica area. So like this actually kind of works out well because I can go to both if I need to. I generally don't need to, but like they don't care. So I was like, well, you know, I told my wife, I'm like, well, if we were gonna move, this is the time to move. And we thought about going back to the Bay Area because my wife's from there too. And you know, we just sort of weighed the options, and it was like, I think we want to stay here. You know, we owned a house, we had kids. You know, we thought about like the lifestyle and all that stuff that would change. You know, it's like you can't really afford to buy a house in the Bay Area.
It's more of a faster pace out there.
Waiting traffic all day, and you know, so I mean, I'm not here because like I'm stuck here. We're here because we chose to be here.
I mean, and then as we said earlier, like Fresno gives you that platform to where you have your tacos, brews, and jams, Fresno Eats, and all these different events. And what I wanted to ask was, you being one of the founders of the Taco Truck Throwdown, like how did that come about?
So I was still at the B when we did that. So Taco Truck Throwdown actually started as it was Fresno Beehive, because at that point we had Fresno Beehive. Which,
I remember that.
Yeah. So what we did was basically we had when I like 2 years into the B, I was like, hey, we should be blogging.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, and I was like, no, we should be.
That was before everyone started blogging.
Yeah. I mean, I've always kind of been ahead of the curve. I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm not like Sam Hansen level ahead of the curve, but But I was like, we should be blogging, and they're kind of like, no, and like a year or so later, I think we got into blogging, and so they basically just created this thing called FresnoBeehive.com, and I just ran with it, man. I'm like, cool, this is our brand, and this is what we're doing, and this is what it's gonna be, and we're gonna throw parties, and it was stuff that newspapers don't do, right? Like we had I remember like we did a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Like when Skywalk opened, that was like first like trampoline place. We had like before it opened, we had like a party in there, and we invited whoever. We used to do movie premieres. So a lot of stuff that you would associate with like radio street teams. Like we did some of that.
I remember y'all did an event. I think this was when Twitter like first came around.
We did a tweet up.
Yeah.
So we did the first tweet up. So we did. Yeah. So we did. So Scott Carter was. Y'all know Scott Carter?
I know Scott.
I don't.
So Scott Carter was. Around before Sam. He was there when Derek was there, but he was like, Scott Carter was dope, man. He's really smart. So we both I remember calling Scott one day. I was like, hey man, do you think like we could do a tweet up in town? And he was like, I was thinking we should do a tweet up. I'm like, let's do a tweet up together then. So we did the Great Fresno tweet up, #TGFT, and so we did that. And then I think we ended up doing like 3 of them. One of them we did some fun stuff. So one of them we had like a scavenger hunt around the stadium, and it was centered at the pool. And at this point there was like a whole carnival out in right field area.
Yeah.
And so like at one point you had to ride the Ferris wheel all the way to the top and get something up there, and then you had to come down and you had to run all the way back and jump in the pool. And the first person who jumped in the pool won, and then I forgot what you won. But we were doing cool stuff like that. And we did a tweet up at the zoo that was really cool. And so when I left, it was just about the time where I was trying to think of like, all right, what's the Instagram meetup thing? Like what, how are we going to do that? And I just left, so we didn't do that. But so Taco Truck Throwdown, it was after one of the tweet ups, and Scott Carter was gone at this point. Sam was there, and Sam was post FTK Sam, and you gotta like, for anybody who doesn't know, like at this point, Sam had worked with Kanye. He had done all that stuff. Sam is like the OG to a lot of people, and then he's working at the Grizzlies in like a pretty low on the totem pole kind of role, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, he had access to stuff, but like it wasn't like the way we looked at Sam. So he came to me and he was like, "Hey, we should do this taco event." And I was like, "Yeah." We were literally walking out of the tweet up into the garage. He was helping me carry stuff to my car. And I'm like, yeah, I'm down with that. Because we had talked about, like, who has the best tacos, just talking cities. Like, Selma versus whatever. So that was kind of the idea. And at that point, people at the Grizzlies were kind of like, huh? What are you talking about? Because he wasn't – he was just a dude to them.
Yeah.
And I think he brought me in, and, they had kind of known me because we had done some of these events, and we had the B behind it. So it was sort of like this entire thing. It was like Fresno Beehive, the Grizzlies present Taco Truck Throwdown, and they were kind of into it. They're like, we'll give it a try. But I mean, it was
Sam. What year was this?
It was Sam's vision. So, this is Taco Truck Throwdown 9, right? So, 2011 was the first one.
2011.
And yeah, so we did it, and it was 7 trucks, I think. It was so many things we did not think of, like that we had to do, that in retrospect, looking back, I'm like, man, that was pretty easy compared to like what we got to do now. But it was just things that we didn't even know about.
So I started that year, 2011. I just made 8 years with the Grizzlies in July. So I was there for the first one, and so when I got hired, Sam and I believe his name was Cody took me, not little short Cody, but tall Cody. Yeah. Took me to go get tacos. They was like, man, you new here? All right, we gotta take you to tacos. Coming from New Orleans, the only taco I ever knew was Taco Bell. Crunchy taco. All right, cool. He took me to, what's that was Chris's Meat Market.
Oh yeah.
This is
Shout
when it
out,
was like-
Chris Market, because I'm from Huron.
Okay.
Huron had a Chris
They
Chris
did.
Meat
They
Market
did.
out there. That was a spot.
Yo, I've seen the craziest things I've ever seen in my life
At Chris
in
Meat Market?
Fresno at Chris Meat Market. Like, dude,
And I could say the same for the Huron one.
I've seen
Shout out Chris.
I've seen a dude. I've seen like a high speed chase coming over the Kern, little
Yeah.
bridge from Kern, and they stopped in front of Chris Meat Market. Dude got out of the car, started power walking, trying to get away from the cops, and the cops just like rolled up on him like, "What are you doing?" And he's like power walking away. I'm like, it's not gonna. I seen the dude walk out of Chris Meat Market with like stuff in his hand. Some other dude rolled up on him, just punched him in the face, like he had stepped out of the door, punched him in the face, took his food, and just left. And I'm just like, this place
Chris's
is.
Meat Market
They
story.
get wild up in
I've
what
seen
is
dudes
this, C
doing-
Street?
Yes. No. It's Kern. It's Kern and E.
E.
Right? Yeah.
They get wild out there.
I've seen dudes doing donuts, like just holding shotguns out the window, and it was like, dude, Chris Meat Market is crazy.
That was wild.
R.I.P. Chris Meat Market. There needs to be a documentary
On Chris
about all the.
Chris Meat Market Chronicles.
Yeah.
See, and Huron now it's April's. I believe it's still
Oh
April's.
well, they did that for a while too. Yeah.
Did they? The
Well,
daughter's
'cause
name?
Chris, if it was Chris Meat Market, then it was April Meat Market, then it was Chris without an H. It was CRIS. And there was this
Chris.
whole thing. Like, yeah, it was.
That was Chris.
Yeah.
That was
that was the spot though.
That was my first experience with the real taco from Chris's Meat Market.
Yeah.
And then, I heard about the whole taco truck throwdown. I was like, whatever, this is the market, sure. I didn't, to be honest, I wasn't a normal, like, oh, let me go to my taco truck and get this. I was still new at it. So I was like,
But now
oh, I know, I got some spots.
Elegante?
I got some spots.
I love my tacos. My El Pastor.
I mean, that means you're a real Fresnan, you know?
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's what, I don't know why he's wearing this NOLA jersey
Well, because
right
I
now.
wore my baseball jersey because I knew MIKEOZ was in the house. So
Okay,
he got
okay.
a baseball
I see
card.
You know
what
what?
you
You
did
know
there.
what though? So I touched on this earlier, but New Orleans actually plays plays a
I appreciate that.
plays a role in my sort of Fresno awakening.
How?
So I had this again. I remember I came to the B when I was super young. So I was like literally 22 years old, and I'm just like whatever, do whatever we were gonna do. And so I put together this crazy thing where I went on vacation. This is my first time going on vacation, like as a working adult. And so I went to Hawaii with my cousin. And then when that was over, I had scheduled it right before I was going to New Orleans for this conference, like for work. So I went I was in Fresno, went to New Orleans, and then I went to Hawaii, and I went to New Orleans. So I was in Kauai, right? So Kauai is like the like the more slow island, like not the super touristy.
No,
And-
we don't know. We never been. But
Oh
still.
well,
That-
it's not the
That sponsor check hasn't came in.
it's
waiting.
not the crazy island. It's like the a lot of locals and pretty chill. And I remember being quiet and everybody complaining about how there's nothing to do there. And I'm like, dude, like what do you like? You live in Hawaii. Like what are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, it's not as good as like the Big Island. It's not as good as like Oahu or whatever. And I'm like, all right. So anyways, so I leave there, go to New Orleans. First time I've been in New Orleans, and like all the stereotypes about New Orleans, all the things that you expect. So I get to my hotel,
Beads.
and so I ended up getting there. It was like a day before the conference was supposed to start. So I just had like sort of a night and then a day in New Orleans. And I go to somebody in the hotel. I was like, all right, man, like it's whatever it is. It's like Wednesday or something. I was like, so what should I do? And he's a local guy. And he's like, oh man, there's nothing to do here. And I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? But as I thought about that, I'm like, you know what? Like, I lived in San Jose for a while, and people in San Jose be like, it sucks here, man. You got to go to San Francisco.
They take it for granted. They're so used to it, right?
Well, I think everyone always thinks there's something better out there. Like the
Yeah.
whatever the higher places in the totem pole, it's always better. Like if you're in Hawaii, this other place is better. If you're in New Orleans, oh, it's not as good as New York. Or if you're in LA, it's not as good as this. And if you're in New York, it's not as good as Paris. And like what's it gonna be? And so I started thinking about that with Fresno, right? Like people in Fresno, it's not that Fresno's bad. It's just that they like have this grass is always greener thing about it. And it's like if you actually take the time to appreciate the things that are here.
Yeah.
And again, invest in your community and be a part of it and go try things and meet people and like it's gonna make your whole experience a lot better. So that was like 3 years into me being here, and so I started to like basically steer a lot of the things I wrote about in the B like into that idea. So I became like the here's what's going on in town person. Like here's why you should like Fresno. these are the things you should be doing. These are the things you should appreciate. This is why you're wrong when you hate on Fresno. So I became like a very like cheerleader type thing of Fresno.
For Fresno.
Yeah, man, and you went from writing to it to now making shit happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, these past episodes, I feel like we just been big in a lot of things that you've done up and from all the events downtown that you've been helping out with and
why? Like you don't have to bring those events to Fresno, but when I look at a list of, you know, the Taco Truck Throwdown, the Tacos, Brews, and Jams, the Fresh S Fest, and Fresno Street Eats, like, your list is like, bam, you dropping bangers after bangers.
I luckily, I have not thrown a lot of bricks lately, or in a long time, so that's nice. When I left the B, I really, like, wanted to be a part of the community. Like, I did not want to just sort of like make it so that all that stuff I talked about, like when I was at the paper, like it was all just an act, or it was all just sort of whatever, because I really believed it. And it was like, well, you know, like, that's not what I do anymore. I'm not going to go to Yahoo Sports and write about, you know, Fresno, although I have a couple times.
And they're like, yo.
it's like a real
well,
Fresno.
no, I wrote about Taco Truck Throwdown once, and sort of I was at Yahoo when we did the first Fresno Tacos thing. So I wrote about like what that meant to the community and why and whatever. But anyways,
awesome.
That's not the point. But I was like, I can't be this sort of very pro Fresno person, and then when I'm not doing that job anymore, just be like, oh, sorry, you know, like I gotta be a part of it. I gotta be a part of the community. But then also for me, like the kind of person I am, that meant like I want to go create some shit, and that's kind of what it was. And you know, in a way, it was liberating in the sense that I didn't have as a journalist covering the community, I can't necessarily go out and, you know, be doing stuff like that as the guy who works for the Fresno Bee, because it's just a little bit of a conflict.
Yeah.
But the guy who works for Yahoo Sports and covers Major League Baseball, like I can make a Fresh S Fest. That's cool. You know, I can make a Fresno Street Eats. There's no conflict there. So it kind of, you know, allowed me to do some of that stuff. And I think by now, you know, we've seen a lot of these people, like we talked about, who, you know, went from being like young, hungry people into people who are making things happen.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's people out there that, you know, now with Street Eats, it's like, you know, somebody like Tony's, you know, my partner in that.
Shout out Tony H.
Yeah. And Tony, like, he's been around for a long time. So it's like, yeah, Tony, you know, I can't do this by myself. And then I look at like guys like Teasy, and they remind me of, you know, what we were trying to do when we were their age.
And that's what I was gonna say. Like, this thing that you've been creating, it gives us here at the podcast something to talk about. Gives people like the homies from TZ Radio to DJ there and just show their skills. It gives everyone a platform.
I think it's really just about community, right? Like, it's about building a spot where everybody's welcome and people are, you know, come out, and you don't necessarily have to coordinate with, you know, all your friends to be there, because you know that you're just going to run into people.
You're just going to meet about, and that's what we've been doing. I mean, this past Thursday out there that we're during our hop, the 7-Eleven event, man, I seen a bunch of people I haven't seen in a while. We ended up walking down an alley to Thrift Demon shop, and it's just great. So we're us here, man. We're thankful for these events that you're putting together.
I'm thankful you guys come out to them. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
that's really what makes it happen. But like, I remember thinking back in the day, man, where like I remember Heck was trying to get like a you know, every Thursday night thing going for hip hop stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like, yo, you just come out and do. That's what we do on Thursdays.
Yeah.
And I've always enjoyed that idea of like, you know what, if you can create something that it doesn't matter what the band is, it doesn't matter what the DJs are, it doesn't matter what
Just
the food
show up
is,
and support it.
You know, but you know it's going to be good. Like, if you trust the people that put it on, and you know it's going to be quality.
Yeah.
Like, and you're just going to go, and you're going to know that people that are good people are there. The vibe is good. Like, that's what we should be striving for, because that to me is what, you know, means. And I do a lot of stuff downtown, but like in that sense specifically, like, that's when you know that it's working. That's when you know that, like, the revitalization is working, and these ideas are working, when you know, don't have to like hard sell people to come. You don't have to give them like all these reasons. You just be like, yo, this thing is happening again, come on out. And people do.
Yeah. And it just generally show up, and I mean, it promotes itself. Just
I mean, we still have to work to make it to make sure it's on point.
Yeah.
But it's great to see the community respond, and like I think and me as someone who again has documented this stuff for a long time, like I've seen so many people try to do cool stuff downtown, and like people just don't always respond to it. But right now, the people, I think there's so much momentum that people are into anything. Like if you feed them a good idea, like they're gonna come out, and they're
hungry
not
for it. Yeah.
They're not scared. They're not scared like they used to be. Like there's a new generation, like your guys' age and even younger, that like.
Come on, man, we young. We still young.
Nah, but dude, I mean, you go out to street eats, man. There's some
young ones.
Yeah.
And that's what you need. And us as we get older, we have to teach them and keep doing this so they could. That's the only way. That's the only way it's gonna keep going. If we need the younger people to keep creating and keep it alive when we ain't around.
But I think that this generation, what I think is cool is that they're not saddled with this idea of like, oh, I don't go downtown. Whereas
they want to come downtown.
Yeah, the people my age, and granted, I didn't go to high school here, but like sort of, those kids, they were like we got to get out of Fresno. We don't go downtown. It's scary because that's sort of what they
don't go south of Shaw.
Yeah. Bullard. No, literally, dude. When I moved out here the first time, it was like, don't go south of Shaw, and somebody told me on the phone, and I was like, huh? And I was like, all right.
They told me that when I first moved to Fresno as well. And I'm like, I'm from New Orleans. Stuff is even worse.
They indoctrinating you, man. Yeah. But I think if you can create like a new generation of people, and I think it's happening, that aren't really tethered to that, like I can't go to this part of town, I can't go to that part of town, then that's what's gonna win in the end for Fresno, is because people don't have that like live in a bubble type mindset, which I think they had for a long time. And to me, that's the biggest change I've seen probably in the last like 10 years, maybe in the last 5 years, is that people aren't so tied into that, like, oh, I'm too scared to go here, I don't want to go there, whatever it is.
No, yeah, for sure. And so for the listeners, what's next on the calendar for you?
Taco Truck Throwdown is the big one.
Is that what you're getting ready for?
Yeah, I mean, now we
just announced the artist, the lineup, right?
Yeah.
What are you excited for?
Like, I'm just excited for the whole thing. I think
nice.
I'm excited selfishly, and granted, I don't get a paycheck from them like you guys. People might get mad at this. I'm excited that it's on a Saturday.
Yep.
And it's not.
It's that one day just
tethered,
focus on that.
It's not tethered to a baseball game. No offense to the Grizzlies.
We feel you.
But I've always felt like the real future. Again, if we want to be the Garlic Festival, like it has to be on like a weekend where people can come from.
Yeah.
People can come from up north. They can come from down south.
And I feel like it's working that way, right? Like, I mean, it had to, when it started off, it had to be during the baseball game, but now it's like the higher ups are starting to see, okay, this could stand on its own.
Yeah.
And it's shown last year doing the 2 days, and now we're just having a Saturday, so it's just a taco truck throwdown.
Like I love. I mean, I've always loved it, but like when it's like Thursday, Friday, I mean, it's great, or when it's just Thursday. But it's harder, I think, to become that big regional event. Whereas, I think we have that potential. I think we can do it. And I know I'm probably going to repeat myself a little bit on this, but like I remember when if you would see people talking about Fresno all the time, it was people making fun of Fresno or the Johnny Carson jokes or whatever, like in the national perspective. And that's where a lot of that like sort of down on Fresno stuff came from. Like, no joke, and Dorian, you deserve a ton of credit for this. The Fresno Tacos idea has rebranded nationally in a lot of people's minds what Fresno is. When you think of Fresno, you think of tacos now. You don't think of Johnny Carson making jokes. You don't think of the scene in Con Air or all these things that like Fresno jokes.
When we had a Dave Chappelle line in downtown on the Con Air movie.
But now you think of Fresno, you think of tacos. I mean, a lot of people do. And I think that's gone a long way to, I think, changing the perceptions of the city. And I think it's very important to the growth, and we can sort of, talk about tacos and it's not a big deal, but like, I think it drastically has.
It plays a huge part in. I mean, at least in my career, it plays a huge part, because had it not been for you and Sam creating the whole taco truck throwdown, I don't know how long it would have took me to get to where I am. Because I mean, from creating the logo to just being a part of the family now, it's played a huge part.
But I mean, it sounds silly to say that you can do all this stuff through tacos, but like
Yep.
we have. I mean, I think we've helped at least revitalize the downtown.
Yep.
We've helped, you know, people, whether yourself or, I mean, dude, I remember the first time Adrian from a Premium Mayor, RIP, called me one day and he was like, "Hey, how do I get in Taco Truck Throwdown?"
Yeah.
And then I was like, "I don't know who you are, whatever." But we let him in and they won that year.
Yep.
And then they
Shout
were
out
nobody.
Adrian, man. Shout out the whole family.
And
Great people.
Bianca and everybody, their mom, but they've taken like just that first just that just calling me and being like, "Hey, we want to get in." To, I mean, dude, they're, you know, titans.
Man, yeah.
And so it's,
icon staples.
It changes businesses, but I think it changes people, but it's changed the perception of the city. I mean, we've had, you know, reporters from national publications come out and hang out with us and want to go eat tacos and write about how, you know, how cool Fresno is, and like all that stuff has an effect. I know this is a very long-winded answer to talk about Taco
No,
Throwdown,
you're good.
but I mean, like it's I think we're at the point where we can start making those next steps. And like I've been sitting on, I'm not going to say them all here, but I've been sitting on ideas, man. And I don't know, like I think next year is the year that we take some steps and we do a couple other things that are going to be like.
And it'll be the 10th one, so we got to go with a bang.
Well, I got the ideas already. I got them. So, but I mean, like we're getting close to that point where, I mean, 20,000 people last year, man.
For sure.
You know, if we have 25, 30 this year or something like that, I mean, granted, 20,000 is like 2 days last year, but still, you know, I think we're
it's showing, man.
I love the momentum. So like, I don't care so much about, you know, like cool, too short, cool, goody mud, whatever.
Yeah.
I care about when we sit up in the very top in Derek's office or in the conference room and we look out at the crowd and see that sea of people and we say, man, like we did it. Like
For
that's
sure.
what I look forward to.
Fresno did it.
Fresno did.
showed love.
Si se puede. I know you had some questions about
He was
tacos.
scrolling through, man.
I see him.
Wait, I got a few questions before you got to take off.
I'm good, man. Keep going.
Out of the 4 events that I wrote down, Taco Truck Throwdown, Tacos, Brews and Jams, Yes Fest, and Fresno Street Eats, give me a little bit of like what you like from those events.
We don't even talk about Chill, huh? Chill's a good event too, man.
Chill.
Because of my schedule.
Chill, Troy. Chill.
I need to add that one to the list. Because of my schedule, I've never like really attended a Chill event.
And Chill's more of a like with
sweet
the ice creams and
treats
sweets, right?
Desserts and shopping. And
shopping.
It's. I mean, I don't go out and say like it's more female oriented, but it kind of is.
Hey, I love the mujeres.
Yeah, you know. Anyway, so
Shout
you
out to
wanted
women.
me to do what now?
Just tell me a little bit of like what you like from each
Okay.
event that you host.
Well, I just told you about everything I like about Taco Truck Throwdown. So
Okay.
all those things I already said. Tacos, Brews, and Jams. I think what I love about that is I love that again, that idea I was talking earlier about like how you create something and you know that, you know, third Thursday every month, there's gonna be different taco trucks there. Doesn't matter what the band is, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Tacos are gonna be good, and like I would hope that at this point the reputation is like whatever Mike is going to bring to us
We're gonna
is
trust
is
it.
going to be legit.
That's how I feel when I see the image online. I'll be like, all right.
It's a new taco
It's
truck.
a-
And
it's
then
new
Dorian's
truck.
like, man, I like that logo. Whoever made that logo was
Who did that logo?
I did that
Dorian.
logo.
Dorian did the logo.
Okay, Dorian.
Yeah.
So with Street Eats, what I like about it is honestly like this is opposite of everything I just said. I like the idea that like it's different every time. Like
I feel like
keep guessing.
Fresno Eats is more family
Yeah, well,
orientated, right?
You might say that, but I feel like
No?
Fresno Street Eats is more of a
It-
hardcore
it-
young
it
wave.
turns up,
like,
dude.
It
No,
does.
it does.
Man, you have the kids turning up.
Yeah.
I just seen
Yeah.
they be doing it. I'm like, what is that?
The shoot.
The shoot? I don't know.
Especially the ones at the park though. The ones at the ballpark have been. they've been
Man,
getting
I seen
pretty
a
bucked.
I
little
don't know
girl.
if it's because of the liquor or what, but
No, I seen a little girl in Master Chef just turning up. Da, da, da. Like, man, it's for the kids.
Eddie's
as well.
infectious like that, man.
Yeah.
But I like the idea that like we can then say, okay, here's this thing you can count on every third Thursday of the month, and be like, all right, here's this thing where we're just gonna throw you, we're gonna keep you guessing,
Just
like
random.
we're gonna throw random stuff at you and see how you respond,
Yeah.
you know, and like so we have, I think is this coming out next week?
yes. On
Okay,
Tuesday.
so we'll have this Friday coming up. We're gonna have the vegan night.
Okay.
I see that.
which is quite a curveball, right? Like we started at bacon,
Yeah.
and now we're here at vegan, and we did junk food, and we like so it's sort of this idea of like
But there's a huge market for the vegan, the whole
yeah.
vegan side, and I'm sure they're gonna appreciate that because they don't.
we get good response. But I just like the idea that like, okay, we can throw you different days, we can throw you different locations, and hey, follow us. Follow us where we're gonna go. So I like that. For Fresno, like to me, it is about creating probably the more family friendly, the event that the whole city can get behind and be like, this is a great downtown block party. And that's one that started as like something else, man. I don't think we had vision of what that was going to be, but it certainly turned into.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
This past year was great too.
I mean, now the pressure is on Taco Truck Throwdown because, like, Fresno's Taco Truck Throwdown's been my biggest event until this year. Like, Fresno might surpass in terms of, just size. Because it was huge.
We got to step it up, man.
The pressure is on all of us. No, but like I like that is the event where I feel like we are most likely able to get sort of the Clovis people to come down and like everybody just to come downtown and be a part of it. I don't feel like that. I mean, we're getting some of that with Street Eats, but like TB&J is not. I mean, I wish it were, but a thing that like we're gonna get a bunch of people from all over town. It's kind of the downtown people, the taco people.
For sure.
And I love them, but
and it's us getting out of work and just showing up.
But Fresno has sort of that bigger market, and I love that.
Just hit record again. You have another question?
No, just finish.
Oh, and chill. I like chill because my wife helped. That was sort of my wife's idea. So I'd like to.
So with all this taco talk, I think I'm gonna steal this question from Troy because I heard him.
Man.
I heard him earlier.
I was like,
and
Mike
he's
Oz
slacking off.
I know what's gonna happen.
I said MIKEOZ is the taco guru. So
What's the
We're not gonna
push
not
it
to do this, right?
No, we're not gonna push it and ask what truck, but
Okay.
what type of taco.
you got to put that pressure on.
No,
them.
man, we are not gonna do
well,
that.
let me ask that question how I was gonna ask it before you.
All
you take my question.
This guy likes to stir up some beef over here.
No, not beef, because everybody like their certain taco trucks, and that's why the taco truck throwdown is what it is now.
It is what it is, yeah.
So I just broke it down by the different meats. Okay. What trucks you like versus the different meats.
I could go with that.
I could do that. I could do that without
with no pressure.
without hurting too many. I'll hurt some people's feelings. I'm not gonna.
It's okay.
Hurt too many people's feelings. Yeah.
Asada. Who's your go-to asada spot?
Premia.
Okay. El Pastor.
Are we gonna do Autobata also? Or
Yeah.
Separate categories. Okay. Then my El Pastor spots are Chewy's.
Okay.
Chewy's with the little tiger on the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Chewy's.
shrimp. I like
Chewy's
shrimp
is-
tacos.
Chewy's is undercut. He's like the. I've said he's like the.
They don't come out as much, right?
He's only on the weekends.
Got you.
But
That's
he's-
shrimp taco though from Chewy's.
He is like a. To use a basketball metaphor, he's like a number 5 seed or whatever, but who can win the whole tournament? Like that's
Gotcha.
Chewy, man. He's not. Yeah, Chewy's on point.
I've had it. It's pretty good.
I also really like. It's not a taco truck, but there's a market, El Mercado Super. It's on Belmont, and it's it's not like a big market like Virata or anything. It's like a smaller one.
Gotcha.
But they have some good.
It's super.
It's El Mercado Super.
Mercado Super.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's a smaller, but it's good.
All right, so what would you just say?
Autobata.
Autobata.
Come on, man.
Al
What
Pastor.
about
Autobata is elegante. I mean, yeah, that's the
Elegante?
king right there. Yeah.
With or without the salsa?
Oh, salsa, of course.
Man,
like,
that
clear
thing
you
be
out.
biting your tongue right there.
If you sick, it'll definitely clear you out.
I like spicy though. Actually,
Okay.
it's Chewy's. Chewy's has the salsa that's like a little too much for me. That's the only one I'm like, woo.
Do you have carnitas on the list? Because I might
Yeah.
debate this one.
Yeah, carnitas is the hardest one. For a long time, I would have told you Los Toritos, and I still think I almost have to like split them up. Los Toritos crispy,
Okay.
Yeah.
and then El Mex, sort of like the more traditional kind of
Gotcha.
stewy. But both of those are really good. Although
Yeah, man.
Jovita started to crisp them up a little bit, and those are good too. So,
Hey, man, I'm voting for Toritos. That's the spot.
dude, Toritos was for so long. Like, if we want to get into Taco Truck Throwdown minutia, we were just talking about this with him recently. Like, he was like the guy that we're like, man, we got to get him to come to Taco Truck
Yeah,
Throwdown.
man.
and we couldn't. Like the first couple of years, we couldn't. And I would go out there, and he would just not be into it. And I would call him. I'd call him. And one time he just started cussing at me on the phone. He's like, "Stop fucking calling me," whatever. And I was like, "Dude, I just want you to,
get that little."
And then so I called him. Sometimes like, "Whoa!" I called him back, and I was like, "What's up, man?" He's like, "This is a Fresno Bee, right?" He's like, "I'm not gonna subscribe to newspaper. Stop calling me." I was like, "No."
Oh, he's seen the number popping up?
Yeah, because it's my work cell phone, right? And I was like, no, man. Like, I'm not trying to sell you newspaper. And then finally, I think we talked to him, and he was like, "All right, come down to Visalia, meet me at this McDonald's." And I was like scared of him, dude.
Man, it sounded like
and,
a whole drug operation going on.
He's the homie now,
Yeah,
but I mean,
yeah.
if you ever met Jesus, like he's sort of intimidating. So I remember me and Sam were like, "Dude, Sam, I'm gonna go meet him at Visalia. We're gonna do this." And I felt like I was trying to close like a big deal, And so we got him in, and now I mean he is.
That's
Like,
the homie for sure.
He's our homie. But
We even got some photos of him when we did the whole Sarape hats.
Yeah.
We went out to the 99 in Mountain View.
Yeah.
Had him throwing that hat photo shoot with him. But yeah, man, their carnitas are fire.
Yeah. So especially if they don't give them to you crispy, ask them for crispy. You could even do the is it the Sam or the Ray where they do carnitas with buche?
With buche.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? The Three Little Pigs?
They done the Three Little Pigs.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
carnitas, chorizo and bacon, right?
Yeah.
All right, so once when you did was that you that did what was it, the taco event at the spot, and it was I'm trying to think of it. It was the peach theme.
Yeah.
That was the tacos, brews, and jam.
Yeah.
Did you try it?
No, Gonzalez.
Fire.
Oh my
They
goodness,
killed it, man. That's a good undercover, like one of the best tacos around too. And they don't really do stuff.
Where's Gonzalez from? Are they from Reedley?
No, he's from here.
From here?
Yeah.
What's the Reedley one?
What's the really
Ortega's?
spot?
Ortega's.
Ortega's. I
Yeah,
like the El
that guy-
Pastor as well.
That guy, because the thing about them is they're hella fast.
Yeah.
And they just like give you tons of meat. And I remember going there one time,
Just
and they just
splatter
brought
on
out
it.
this crazy like platter of tacos, and yeah, those guys are.
I get them confused because they both had the black truck,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So Gonzalez is the one. They've often been at the Grizzlies games.
Yeah.
Dude, his al pastor is also.
With that
I may
peach?
have to put a hat, but yeah, that peach, dude, he killed the peach.
I
It was
can't.
so
So
wait,
that
how-
was our first episode because I came back with 2 plates.
No, that was the second one.
The second one. So I came back with 2 plates.
Yeah, this guy
and we
did.
was literally just downstairs, just like devouring those tacos, and I was like,
That was
He
fire.
killed it. Yeah,
It was.
He grilled up the pineapples, and I was just like, man, that was
Yeah.
so good. Credit to that was Mike Cruz's idea at Tioga, so credit to Mike Cruz.
shout out Mike
to do the peach.
Mike Cruz.
To do the peach.
We're gonna have to bring that back when the podcast does the live at Tioga or something.
Yes, sir.
Do it, man. I know the people, so I can help you out.
We'll make it happen.
I appreciate that. Well,
I'm just glad you didn't make me have to pick between El Premio and Elegante.
No,
'Cause
I-
that's
the battle, right?
That's the battle right there.
and I rock with both of them. Like
Well, and now
I
because
won't-
Elmex has won a couple years in a row now too. So
shout out MX as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Are
got
they-
you gotta
do they
love
have
them
their
all.
truck coming soon because I know they.
she just sent me pictures of it the other day.
So
I think the debut is going to be a taco truck throwdown. It looks nice.
Oh,
Yo,
so
and-
we just got
and-
that exclusive from Mike Oz.
Yeah.
Yo, and
I mean, I don't know for sure, but I know she's coming for throwdown.
That's cool, man. They had
They don't
a
have
tough.
videos.
They had a tough one, and we're glad
They bounced back.
they
for
bounced
sure.
back. Yes, sir.
All right, so since you pay attention to our podcast, you know we ended the night with the quote of the day. So I'm gonna hand this over and just tell me who you think might have said it. And
Is it gonna be one of those easy? There was an easy one, man. The Jay-Z one. I hope it's as easy as the Jay-Z one.
he chose the Jay-Z.
Yo, he was talking business, so we try to fit it. It wasn't as bad as Troy's last episode. He's talking about the mom and.
Hey, you can't. They all can't be gems, but you know it is what it is. Here you go, my friend.
Many imagine, few execute. I'm supposed to say who that is?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. Is that a Sam Hansen quote?
It does sound-
Sam will be longer. I honestly don't know.
Throw out a name, anybody.
I have to guess. All right. Let's see. I feel like you're probably throwing me out at like some kind of I don't know, like a Steve Jobs or something.
That works.
That works. Shout out
Who
to
is it?
Steve Jobs. I don't know. I just picked the random quote. That's what makes it our quote of the day.
Well, now you can lose points for journalism. That's the only thing I'm going to dock you guys points on. Now I need to know who said it.
It's all good. It's the Saber Up Podcast. Good night.